Hello, and welcome to another one line of code. I am one line. And today is Wednesday, August 2nd. Welcome into another fantastic day to be a developer. I hope you are all having a great day so far. If you are not, then I hope it gets better to the expectation that you have, or even better than. I am trying to go to here. I am trying to copy this text and pasta. Done. I need one of those buttons that sends out notifications everywhere. Anyway, hi. How are you? Today is gonna be a fun day. I tried to clear up some processes that were going on in my brain that made it a little bit more difficult to concentrate on Monday's stream. Again, I did it again. I completely thought I already moved you over. Anyway, that was my email. Those were messages for the Microsoft Mesh meetup that they had not too long ago. Anyway, you guys already have all of my email addresses everywhere, so it doesn't matter. It's yours. Let's open the app. So on stream, provided I haven't restarted lately, we have been working on the bot still running financial management project, which is an application that will allow you, yes, you, to track your own finances, your spending, your savings, whatever accounts you want to look at. And oh, no, I need you to be that short because we're working on CSS and stuff. Lately, we've been working on a calculator, an in-app calculator, so that maybe there are times that you are entering information and you just need to be able to type it. And Max is right there. Max is the one who kindly provided the initial proof of concept calculator that was just written in HTML and JavaScript. We have since been moving it more towards a Blazor oriented calculator. So I hope you're doing well, Max. Hope it's been a good day for you. We're going to go ahead and get the app launched so you can see it. So I think we need to either return back to something similar to what Max had already implemented in his JavaScript calculator, as far as being able to keep operations and like representing your operations using an array, essentially, of buttons pushed. I need this up. I want to get 90%. Yes, you can have 90% of the profit, which is going to be exactly 0 because it is open source and free and not for pay. By providing your implementation, you agreed to it being part of an open source project. And actually, again, we've modified it so much that it's kind of not the same. So for example, if we look at how the UI for the calculator is, we now have an we just have an array of numbers for the keypad for the number entry, and then the 3 manual buttons for negate, decimal, and 0. And then these are going to get moved, but these are going to be the operator buttons that are also going to be in an enum or an array that are going to get printed out by looping through the values. But currently you can see the calculator at work. Here is a 5 plus 20. I don't know why I always use that. So you can see that we had the plus sign active, which means that we're going to add 5 and 20. And there we go. Plus 45 equals, and then if I push equals again, since I have not pushed anything else, then it's going to add 45 again, the way that calculators do, until I push another button. Oh yeah, and that's where we're at. So we're at the point where if I push another operator after having pushed submit, the next number that I input should have cleared out this one so that it starts at whatever new number I put in. And that's where we're at. I don't know why that did plus 5. It's like no longer using the the operator that I'm selecting. So I have no idea. And now it did multiply. Are you guys using the right yeah, anyway, we'll get that figured out. Hello, Rain Dance. It is going very well. Thank you for asking. How is it going with you? I just think we need to revamp the way that it does the calculations anyway. We were talking about this on Monday, but like with just how brain dead I was and just overwhelmed and super temperaturely hot, I just couldn't think. But we were talking about I'm gonna come back to the code on Wednesday and be like, why did I do it this way? So I'm currently liking the whole GG. I'm liking the whole numbers clicked and then having input dirty. So I don't mind that one bit. The negative functionality is fine. The decimal functionality is fine for the current number. But Rain Dance says, I stopped my project for some time because I got hired. What did you get hired to do? Wait, nope? What's nope? Oh, you got hired for Rockstar Games? Like mentioned me directly or mentioned everyone? Oh gosh. I did not give you permission to do that. Oh my goodness, these people. Just a multiplayer server. Yeah. So wait, I'm still confused though. I'm still learning JavaScript, but I think I could program already a card game with numbers, ace, queen, and stuff. Yeah, I think you could. I really do. So the thing that I'm confused about, your project was the GTA 5 server, hosted server, or was the thing that you got hired to do is create and or manage a GTA 5 server? I'm kind of familiar with the concept of this. I have my own L2J local hosted server. So a Lineage 2 server that we run locally, and yeah, we have one of those. Max wants to know, what do you think? Should I finish the bootcamp of JavaScript first and then start programming projects and stuff, or should I do in between the bootcamp? I would say finish the curriculum, finish whatever the thing is that you're following, so that you do the whole bootcamp beginning to end, and then start trying your own things to apply all of the things that you learned throughout the bootcamp. Although, if you weren't already doing some kind of self-learning guided process, so I assume that the bootcamp thing is guided in some way. If you weren't already doing that, then I would say pick a a thing that you would like to do, and in this case it would be a card game, and then try to muddle through it. Okay, so just this YouTube video, and you're currently almost halfway through, so I would recommend finishing this. So I would call this a guided boot camp, where they're teaching you the principles, the basics, just how to do JavaScript. And maybe go to, well, yeah, I would still go all the way through their game examples, like rock, paper, scissors, tic-tac-toe, at least those two, to see what the basics of setting up a game in general are in JavaScript. And I say 2 of them so that you can find the commonalities at least between 2 of them. Yeah, and so do that before you start trying to make your own card game. Yeah, I know you said you're going to finish it, but you were asking, should I do the card game now in the middle of this, or should I wait until I completely finish the course? And that's why I'm saying at least get to here. If there is a thing that you can do that is not that would only use the things that you've learned up until now. So I guess that would be everything up until here. Then yeah, if you want to practice with it, but that should be something smaller, in my opinion. Again, since you're asking for my opinion. Okay, so Raindance was explaining that I had stopped project of my thesis program remake. What? So now I'm learning how to script in 5M for in C# because there's a bit API because there's an API which is a bit complicated for me right now. A big API which is complicated for me right now. Cool. Hello Mojo and hello X. Hello Ziz. Hello. Whatever name I happen to call you for today, as long as it's not sewage. And you are welcome, Max. Okay, so as predicted, I pretty much want to rework the calculator because like there's already too many bugs. It's like, why are you still multiplying when the last operator that I'm pushing, well, no, I guess that's working again. Yeah, okay, so I think that's what's happening. So I switched to minus and now I switch to multiply, and then I push something else, and it only keeps the most recently the first one of the ones that I clicked when I'm supposed to be switching. Remember when I asked, should I study or not? I've decided that I'm gonna study. I correctly modified a stored procedure thanks to Thindle, says Mojo. But then I changed the column name and locked my senior dev out of the dev environment. Yeah, so make sure that the returns still have the same schema, because the application will be expecting the same, at minimum, the same columns back. And it looked like you were just adding new columns, which is a good thing. You can add columns without it affecting, typically without it affecting the application that uses it. But you're saying with the stored procedure for existing applications that you are going to provide at minimum the stuff from that version of the stored procedure that they were using. He never responds to me so fast. Now I know how to get his attention. Oh geez. I would recommend not doing it that way. That's an easy way to just have him just, yeah, not be happy with you, I guess. I like it though. I did have a conversation with one of my teammates today. One thing that was happening quite often was, like, they're a high velocity developer. So they're someone that there's an issue that they're assigned to do, they take care of it as quickly as they can, efficiently, and to the best of their ability. However, there are also other changes that happen because there's more than one developer to master, and I don't think he was really used to that before. So now when he makes changes, he has not been merging master into his branch before creating the PR. And on top of that, it seemed like he was just making changes to the code without and verifying that it builds and everything on his machine, but he hasn't been running the app to make sure that there are no runtime errors either. And so I finally asked him today, which he was so understanding. It was so cool. I finally asked him today, is it possible for when you're going to do a PR, first pull in latest master into your branch, build, run, make sure your functionality that you're changing still works. It's for QA to make sure that the rest of the app isn't broken. It's for unit tests to make sure that the rest of the app isn't broken. But it's for QA to see if there's incorrect behavior. Just make sure that when you have changes, when you're about to do a PR, that your branch is up to date with latest master and that you've run it on your dev machine to make sure that it's still working the same, that you're expecting it to. And he was like, yeah, I can do that. I wasn't thinking along those lines because I'm just not really used to having master updated so often. And yes, our main branch is called master. And I was like, man, that was that was a lot less scary than it was in my head, because I was expecting him to just be offended by it. Like, who are you to tell me how to be a developer? I'm like, I don't mean to do that. I'm just saying. Right now, my process for reviewing PRs is to check out all of the affected branches in all of the repos that work together, build it on my machine, run it on my machine. No, we do not. So we have three and a half developers. One of the developers is the project manager. So we have 3.5 developers, and we each, like when we do a change, we each create a PR and tag the other developers. And then at least one of those other developers does the review. So you can imagine, I mean, it's a small team, but we have a lot of responsibilities for this app. So it's a cool process if it's done correctly, but it also can be overwhelming, because like right now I'm working on 2 specific things. I was working on a bug where in Eastern languages, actually in any regional format, where the year typically comes first and then the month and day, or sorry, year, day, month. Yeah. So for example, Arabic, Eastern Arabic, actually, if your OS is set to that regional setting, then the date would display as like 1944 or something like that for in one skin, but then in another skin it would display as the correctly formatted date. And so I had to make sure that whenever we localize dates, blah, 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 doesn't matter. So I was working on that bug. I'm working on a proof of concept that we can have our application connect to an external login API thing using 3-legged handshake and get the authorization token, which I don't know how we're going to pull this off, because we really do need some kind of server that does I got the authentication code. Now I need to send my client secret and my client ID in a post request to the login server with the authentication code to get back the token. We don't have a way to securely store the client secret currently. But the proof of concept does show that our app will be able to present a login screen, log into that service, get back user profile information from that service after we get the token. Yeah, so that was fun. Anyway, I have those 2 branches, and because I was kind of going back and forth between them, I have 2 local Git repositories on my machine for the same organization. Does that make sense? so that whenever I'm doing a review, I open up the other location where the Git repository is, I change branches, do all that stuff, and review it there. But then I have to come back to my branch. So I just come back to my, I guess they're 2 workspaces, to that one. But then I'm still switching back and forth between, now I need to get the latest shared packages so that I'm constantly developing on latest master for our shared packages. And there's just so many moving parts. And it's like, Anyway, enough of that. Gravy train. Going off the rails on the gravy train. So, what do you think? What do you think? Refactoring this calculator. Actually, and is there a way for me to just get this calculator to work? Let's see. Okay, so the way that the calculator currently works. Oh, Mojo says, I recently listened to a podcast that provided insightful information on dev productivity regarding teams. She mentioned Dora and space. My brief glance at Dora seemed helpful for me personally as a budding developer. Which one of these is the official Dora? Dora.dev. Okay, DevOps Research and Assessment is the largest and longest running research program of its kind that seeks to understand the capabilities that drive software delivery and operations performance. Dora helps teams apply those capabilities, leading to better organizational performance. So this is what happens when I read on stream. I didn't absorb any of that. It's a research program where they are studying capabilities that drives delivery and operations performance. Okay, so what exactly does this mean for teams in general? This seems like it's a research paper or a research study. Is there anything that actually gives recommendations for how teams approach DevOps? Or is it just a report of here's what we have found? Sorry about the phone buzzing. Let's see if putting it on this will make it buzz less loudly. If you could even hear it. Okay, and then the other one is called Space. Oh, you still recommend saving it? Develop what would this be under? This would be under, do I have a productivity folder? Productivity. Okay. So then the other one is Space Development Agency, Space Development Productivity, which is going to be here's something about it. Hello, Mila. I saw you playing. So I have no idea what game it was, but I saw you playing that yesterday. You were kicking butt. I didn't have the sound turned up because I was still in the middle of my workday, but it looked like you were doing amazing. The last thing that I saw was you made 3rd place. I hope you were having fun with it. It was Fortnite. It's a funny game. It had no sound anyway. Well, this thing actually, or not actually, this thing at least shows some information about this space framework. So I can read through that later as well, because again, I won't be able to read it on stream. So Nicole Forsgren, maybe is how you pronounce it, I don't know, was the guest on the podcast. So you're looking at the right content at least. Cool. Awesome. So I should be able to figure this out. Not figure this out, but see more information about this and continue on. What is the space productivity method? It also kind of looks like the Swarmia thing might not be a good site to go to. But anyway, it kind of looked like that might be the organization that came up with it. But yeah, okay. Some more calculator fun. The current logic for the calculator, that's what I wanted to go through, is when the component first loads, we have input is dirty is set to true, which means that you can, from the get-go, push one of these operator buttons. When you change between operator buttons, we're calling this handle operator clicked method. And clear all and remove have their own handlers. Same with plus minus and decimal. Everything else will call this. So when an operator is clicked, we're setting the active operator equal to the operator that was pressed if it is not the submit button, which is equals. If it is the submit button, then we set it equal to the previous operator that was clicked, pushed, selected, whatever the word is. So what that means is our active operator should be getting updated. Where are you? Where are you sending the email to that email address? Anyway, it should definitely be updating the active operator. So we can see that happening here. The thing that stays orange is the active operator. We know that functionality is working. I push the equal sign, there is no active operator, and then I keep pushing buttons until I push the equal sign. So that's working as expected. Then if the operator that we pressed, so the one that we're passing in here, is the submit button and we don't have a current value. So current value is our current sum that is represented by this second row. That means that we don't have anything to accumulate. Interesting. So if I start right away and the only thing that I push is the equal sign, ooh, it's keeping state. And the first thing that I push is the equal sign. I am still 0 equals 0 equals 0. I'm still getting something back. So current value is not null when I first open the component. So let's fix that. Does this break stuff? First equals, wait. We actually need to rebuild. No, we don't need to rebuild. Should have hot reloaded. Control F5 like 60 times. Make sure it gets my latest code. Yeah, it's still showing up as 0. Do I have an uninitialized? I do not have an uninitialized. That would be setting current value to not 0. Where else would, well, I guess the first thing that I want to do is stop and restart the app. So I've been having some issues with hot reload. I hadn't been having very many issues with hot reload when I used .NET Watch, but lately it's been kind of weird and I don't know why. I don't even know if it was from a Visual Studio update that this started happening, but it's being weird. Yeah, no? Okay. So current value is null at the moment. You can see that there is no 0 up here. So if I push equals, then it behaves as expected. If operator is the equal sign and current value is null, then don't do anything. Or the operator is not the submit button, but we have not entered any new stuffs. So this is the case where we add a number, and now since I pushed another operator, that submitted it. So that did the math. But I'm pushing another button, another operator that is not the equal sign, and it is not doing math because I have not entered in a new number. Now, if I manually push the 0, then that means that this is dirty. So if I do push another operator, it actually does the operation. The question is, why? Why is the operation that it's doing not the most recent one that I have selected? So I just pushed minus again as my most recent. Here's +2. And then if I push times, this should have been 2 + 2 equals this, and then active operator, the next number, and then I push another button, then it should have been times, and I push another button. Yeah, so that kept the plus sign when I tried to change operators in between. Yeah, so that one I'm not understanding yet, but we will. But this logic does look good so far. And then if current value has value, the operator to use is if the operator we pressed is the equal sign, then the active operator. Otherwise, we use the previous operator. And if both of those, or the one that we select from these two, is null, then we default to the operator that we just pressed. So that makes me wonder if we're nulling out previous operator. Yeah, so again, this is probably a case where we would want to construct our math using a stack or an array or something. An array that represents a stack. What might be nice is if at the end, ooh, what do you think this would look like? So next formula, next formula, would be something like the current value oops. Current value, active op. Oops, man. Num output. And then we use next formula here. If current value has a value. All right, so what does that look like? Are you actually going to let me do this without needing to restart the app? Ooh, it looks like it wants to build. And then refresh my page for me. Pretty please. Yes. Okay, so we have this up here. We are now pushing 5 to plus sign add 5 to add 0 active op dot get no, what is it called? Oh gosh, it's right here. What do you call it? Get display text, which probably needs a using, which is why it didn't show up for me immediately. It's an operator, right? Do I have to manually pull it in? Which is using finanman.shared.extensions? No? What are you using? Hello? finanman.shared.extensions. Enums? I don't think it's enums. Pretty sure it's not enums. Cannot be applied to a nullable enum. There. Okay, that's better. Oh, yuck. Gomenasai. I was reading work emails. I meant to keep working on this. My bad. Guilty. Okay. And then if I push another button, cool. So now we can keep our eye on what the active operator is. Oh, we aren't, however, changing the previous operator when we're pushing this. That's what's happening. And I do. Yep. I currently have the one that we finished up on Monday pushed to GitHub. Here is the project site. Oh, it's your time. You do what you want with your time. If you are like, I just wanted to look at it and see if I can do this thing in 5 minutes, and I'll do it, or I just want to play with this until I'm done with it. Totally up to you. But yeah, it's definitely the issue that my previous operator is not being updated. But that's why I'm telling it which operator to use. Yeah, completely okay. I appreciate it if you do happen to. So I have not been reading these out loud. Live Coding says, do you push the latest code regularly? I am legitimately curious at taking a swing, spike no pressure to merge, at unit testing this calculator, and I promise I would not invest more than an hour because I'm too lazy. I will take a swing at the unit testing off hours between now and Friday, or I will play video games instead. It's truly a mystery as to what I will do. So maybe what I should do then is just for now, not even just for now, what I'm going to do is I'll move the calculator logic into a class because I don't know if it would be easy for you to set up unit tests for a Blazor component. So if I have the calculator as its own thing, then it'd be easier to test. And then this Blazor component is just going to use the calculator. So I will put that in. Oh, that's part of the curious mystery. So I guess it's already set up then. Here's an example of testing a component. Here's a counter component. It's what you get when you create a new B unit project. So I think you would have to first download the template for B unit if it's not shipped with Visual Studio at the moment. But anyway, there's the component. Here is a test. So essentially you would be mocking button clicks and then validating that the thing that you expected to happen based on the button click, so the value that gets displayed up here, because you won't be able to create a new this type of component and then call the methods on it. At least not without doing reflection. And the reason why is because all of the methods are private. So all of the variables that you would be testing to make sure that the values are correct are private. All of the methods that you would be calling are private. So this handle operator clicked unit of work. So yeah, I guess if you wanted to play with the Blazor component itself, then use the current branch that is, or the current commit that is checked in. Otherwise, I really do think that we would benefit greatly from having the calculator in its own class. I just don't know what to call the thing that contains it. Is it just a model? It's not a Poco because it'll have like extra logic and stuff, but would it still be a model? Because it's a calculator and this is a code that is modeling the behavior of a calculator. So I guess it's a service, you think? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. I like that a lot. So we're going to start off with just a regular service. I'm not going to do like an iCalculator so that we can swap out which type of calculator we're using, although that would be pretty cool. I'm just going to do calculator service or just calculator. But I'm calling my component calculator as well, and I don't want to have to do namespace stuff. So I'll call it iCalculator from Apple. I dig gesagt. So yes, I do like your suggestion though that we have the calculator component be a... I can't do that because it would have to inherit from component base. And I wouldn't be able to inherit from calculator service. Because that means that calculator service would have to inherit from calculator base, which is the future. So anyway, I'm just going to do it this way where my component has a local calculator service. I'm not going to dependency inject this either. What even am I typing? Calculator. Oh my goodness. Calculator. And then I'll just instantiate it. And then all of these methods for pushing buttons. Like, oh gosh, how would I do that? That wouldn't be as fun though. Like, essentially, I would have an exposed method that does the calculate. Well, sure. Dang it. I don't know if I like that though. That just does the calculation. Yeah, it would quickly get ugly because the things that I'm thinking about are having this calculator service maintain its own state. So it knows what its current value is. It knows what its most recent operator pressed is. I thought it was going to be as easy as just taking all of the methods that I've already written and writing them in here as public methods. I guess. I mean, it still is. Yeah, true. It'd be easier if I already had tests. So what if created this out here? Ooh, actually, you know what? I think I do like this as an enum inside of the class. So I'm not angry at that. It shouldn't be too hard for me to think about, though. If I had a public, it would still have to be a decimal that gets returned. Press number. Okay. Yeah. If you feel like it, there. Just because you said it out loud does not mean that you have to do it. Process key press. And what I'm thinking of doing is having all of the possible keys on the calculator. I don't know what to call it. Just a key. And we'll do everything from 0, 0. 1, all the way on up. Just do them all. You know that I'm gonna do them all. Okay, so 0 through 9, and then a decimal place. Yeah, so you're gonna give them to me for free. Thank you. Decimal, negate, 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 negate. Bro, I want to become a full stack .NET developer in C#. What things should I learn already? I already know VBA and SQL. So I started off with VBA, but VBA and Access. So I didn't even have SQL experience. I did have a little bit of Oracle experience. So that's a great place to start because that'll at least, you know, syntax, you know, object-oriented type stuff, even though it's event-driven, you know, object-oriented, accessors and methods, and although for you they're called subs and functions. So to switch over to C# from VBA, gosh, like mine was out of necessity. Was it out of necessity? I could have kept going with VB. I moved on from VBA to .NET Framework MVC applications using VB.NET. Not even that. I'm sorry. They were ASP.NET web pages applications using VB.NET. Ooh. Dukasoft is providing this. Gosh, there I go. I was starting to just skim through it, my eyes glazed over, and I'm like, there's words, show me pictures. I made this chart as a tip for everyone who asked me what should I learn next as an ASP.NET Core developer. So yeah, I guess really the big thing is going from VBA to C#. You're essentially wanting to start looking into targeting .NET Core framework. So learning how to use a tool like Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. If you're going to use Visual Studio Code, that also comes with learning the .NET CLI, the command line interface. But if you're going to use Visual Studio, it's knowing how to create a new project, what types of projects are available. You would still need this with Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is hard mode. There are some things that are just immensely easier if you use Visual Studio, the full IDE, such as Maui projects. Like, I don't even know how to use the .NET CLI to compile and run a Maui project. But regardless, that's too far in the future. So I guess the main thing is learn the tool, Visual Studio. Full IDE would be my recommendation, which should be kind of easy if you have already used other IDEs. It has a lot of similar functionality where you have file management, project management. The concepts of projects versus solutions would be another big one, because again, if you're doing VBA, you're typically working in Excel or Outlook or Word or just any of the Office products where you don't necessarily have this kind of structure as far as here's a project. You might have module libraries that you could import. So think of a project as a module library where you have many functions and many different scripts. And then a solution is a way to put a whole bunch of them together. So my solution here has 18 projects, but it really only needs one. Yeah. So modules and 7 functions in it. Yep. So, yeah, and I still use VBA, by the way. I'm still maintaining my own personal database using Access for what this project is replacing, essentially. So this is a web version of my local Access financial management tracker that has VBA macros for all of its functionality. It uses SQL Server as the database. So that's another good thing. You already know how to use SQL Server, or just SQL in general. So anyway, here's a project. There are the getting started projects, like console applications would probably be the way to get started. Although a lot of people have indicated you should probably, there's an option when you're creating a new console application project. Console. Anyway, it still found it. That says do not use top level statements. And what this will do is it'll give you the whole program.cs structure. It'll give you the public static void, or I guess it's just void main string args. And so that's what you would typically be used to seeing in just about any kind of application. Top level statements just gets rid of the void static main args and implies it. And then you just pretty much work in a file that looks like a blank Python-ish file. So you have an empty text file that you just start typing in code and then run it, and then it does whatever your code does. And I think that was the intent. It was to help people from other scripting languages just feel comfortable with just start writing code, which I guess is okay. But for learning .NET, you typically have this class structure where you have a namespace, class, and then a whole bunch of private, public properties, fields, or fields, properties, if you want to do it in that order. and then methods. And everything in .NET is a method. Or in, gosh, everything in C# is a method. The things that distinguish a method from a function are whether it returns something. If it returns something, it is also a function, but it's also a method. So all of these thingies are methods. Not all of them are functions. Currently working in a company for VBA development. Yeah, I definitely did that a lot. So I worked for what is it called? Civil service. I about said public service, but it's kind of the same. So I worked civil service. I worked for human resources at an army installation, and all of the stuff that, or a lot of the stuff that I worked on there at first was using VBA because I'm a developer. I want to automate everything, and the only way that I could do it without being in their IT staff was by writing VBA macros. And so I did. I did a lot. I did everything using VBA. But so yeah, start small. Use this thing after you start understanding here's what the IDE is, here's the different project types. Now I'm ready to get started into .NET Core development. And then this thing seems like it'll provide, yeah, okay, so this thing doesn't even have anything to do with learn the tool either. Now that you say you want to be a .NET developer, get some general skills. So the general skills would be stuff like doing C# console applications that ask you to type something in, you type something in, and it does something based off of what you typed in. And then start looking at, like I wouldn't even go into version control yet. It's great to have those skills, but if you're trying to just learn C#, then really console app that does a kind of echo back, a hello world. Well, first of all, hello world is just file new project. But then having the ability to print stuff out to your console, accept user input, do logic based off of that input. Those are the basic skills that I think happen here. Then the next step up from that would be probably a desktop app. So create a WPF or UWP app, which already introduces so much complexity, because now you need to know XAML or some kind of, yeah, just XAML if you're going to go desktop. Or you can do web next. Like I did purely web. Well, that's a lie. I did VB.NET WinForms projects because I already did VB6. So I had that. And I guess that would be an easy one for you to transition to. Doing a VB6 WinForms app using .NET Core, or VB6, VB.NET WinForms app using .NET Core. I think you can still make WinForms using VB. I know you can for C#, but yeah, that'll at least get you used to the project structure. But if you can, just jump straight into C#. Yeah, Dukasoft posted it. I'll catch up in chat in a second. And then the next thing to do, well, I guess, yeah. If you want to do web development, definitely build up your HTML and CSS skills. You don't really need to build up your C# skills because there is this technology called Blazor in the .NET ecosystem that allows you to write HTML and CSS and C# to control how your HTML is laid out at runtime. So instead of needing to use, I can't find anything. Instead of needing to use JavaScript to determine which of these things to display that might have been done inside of an iframe, or you do some kind of query to your backend that says, give me the HTML markup for this thing that I want to put here. you can just specify, I want to render this component here if the selected type, so what this type thingy is here is, I have all of these tabs. So based on the selected tab, that's what content I want to register. And it's as easy as using this switch statement and saying, if my entry type is a payment, then render payments. If it's a deposit, then render the deposits form. If it's transfers, render the transfers form. So anyway, it's no JavaScript needed for that part of it, because for this app, I am running on .NET in the browser. So it actually is doing .NET native stuff. It's not like doing some janky, all right, you write C# code, I'm going to turn it into the JavaScript equivalent. It's actually using your C# code to tell the UI what to do. So Blazor would be a great place to go and learn if you're wanting to do web development, even if you're wanting to do desktop development. So I have this same exact application in desktop using the same UI. Apps, BPF, run. Absolutely. I absolutely. Yes. Oh man, no, that's a great question. I will definitely read that out loud and answer what my opinion is on it. If anyone else in chat has an opinion on that, definitely feel free. Especially you, Peter. Except that I disagree with his statement. So this is the app running on desktop using the exact same user interface. So this is a desktop application, a WPF application, and it still does the same API requests the same way that my web application does. And I can do all of the same operations, except natively on the desktop. And now I also have access to any native operating system stuff. So if I wanted to directly access the hard drive to maybe say I have this Excel, not even Excel, I have this directory that has all of my account settings and information, restore it from there instead of going to the server. Or I have a local database within my local network, do all of your operations to that local database instead of my API, that kind of thing. We could have those configurations in the desktop. You could also just anything operating system. You have access to it if you do it that way. So same UI, written once, runs everywhere, Blazor. That's my TED Talk. And of course, another good resource for you where we have people that are just excited about helping people pursue whatever dreams you have, whatever goals you have. You're more than welcome to join our Discord. You don't have to. It's not required for you to be successful, but the people in our Discord are just amazing as far as being supportive and just helping out where they can. Okay, so I'm going to read off the comments that came in while I was giving my spiel. So starting at currently working in a, even further up. So just after the question about how do I get started into C#, I've been doing VBA and SQL. So by doing VBA, I got interested in the IT domain, but I am not from the IT field. I'm a commerce graduate. And if you're interested in continuing to do stuff with commerce, then there are tons of applications that you can create or expand on that are in the commerce industry with your .NET knowledge. In fact, one of our community members which I will do a video shout out. Captain Commerce. Thank you for the follow. Captain Commerce, he actually works in a framework, I think it's called Nop Commerce. And he would be very, very happy to share his knowledge with you. So here's a clip from his stream.
And then every other Saturday, I'll probably start a little bit earlier. Probably like 10 Mountain is what I'm thinking. And it might be another like 4.5 hour stream or something like that. So,
hey.
Code stream first. Cool. Well, hey, you know what is like really helpful? I know you're in
no, it's gonna cut off.
Chat asking.
Oh no. Dang it. So I only have the clips playing 30 seconds just in case the clip that plays has copyright music on it. Then I don't get a copyright strike. And it cut off before the punchline of that clip. But anyway, Captain Commerce, fantastic streamer. Feel free to follow him. He does .NET C# with Nop Commerce. Right now he's doing an inventory management system though. Or no, he's doing a notepad application to replace whichever notepad he got upset with. I can never remember, but that's fine. Anyway, Peter was saying to Shark, can I call you Shark? Or would you prefer me to say Sharkuni, the whole thing? Or just Uni? Or anyway, just let me know. Said, there is a lot to learn, but if you know SQL, good news. Your knowledge is really valuable. Just not enough, but it is really valuable. And then he also said, I don't have a good roadmap, but if you can make a web application and use Git, you'll be doing intermediate developer work. True. Yeah. So I do recommend knowing Git and being able to push your repositories to Git, whether it's using GitHub, Bitbucket, any of the source control repository sites that. But yeah, just being able to use Git is good. Liquid is here. Liquid says, hey, second day of joining a company, got a Dell i5 13 Gen, and I'm fresh college student. Nice. The workstation that the client I'm working with sent me is probably a $3,500 system, $3,500 to $4,000. It is pretty beefy. It's nice. And Shark, actually, Dukesoft said, here is Microsoft Learn. Microsoft Learn is a great resource with videos for the basics. Definitely Scott Hanselman is amazing. I think her name is Kendra. So anyway, she's awesome too. So learning from these guys is great. There are self-guided tutorials. You get, like, if you are a person that does better when you are rewarded, then Microsoft Learn's stuff is really, really, really good for you because you get points as you, why am I only level 1? Anyway, you get points as you complete courses. And you get XP and you level up and you just feel good. And you get badges and yeah. So there you go. I guess it's because I migrated everything over to my work account. You would think it would show up here though, since they're connected, but whatever. Doesn't matter. So these are great. Walkthrough courses. Some of them are translated from other languages and you have to do a bit of research to figure out what exactly was intended with the thing, or steps are skipped, but they're good overall. They're especially good for getting started, and they're all free. I do love that they're all free. YouTube videos, of course, but still that would be after learning Visual Studio. But you know, these days, due to Office 365 and SharePoint 365 and Power Automate and web and desktop VBA developer, desktop VBA developers have a lot more things to do. This is true. Yeah, and the last time that I was doing VBA like for an actual job was 2009. So I'm sure things have changed a lot. However, just to do another shout out, and I don't think he has any clips, but Softas and Software is an Office extension, Office plugin, add-in, Office add-in developer. And he's using Blazor to develop his add-ins, which is insane. I love seeing that. And now here's the question. So Narnu, with the double R's and the double N's, says, what if, hear me out, you don't know what you want to do with your life? This is a question. So Live Coding First responded with, I think it's safe to say that if you don't know that, Twitch chat can't help you. However, the presenter can give you an opinion. But x/ziz/huj says, choose the least obnoxious thing. That's what I did. And then Narnu says, better than nothing. I'm about to start my second year of a 2-year program. All I know is I hate JavaScript and web apps kill me. Yeah, so the answer obviously depends on your personality. I'm someone that is excited about things in general. Like, I have goals, I have things that I want to do, and Blazor helps me do all the things that I want to do. If I'm not able to accomplish it using Blazor, I at least have the .NET skills to do whatever it is, whether it's because of a class library, whether it's transferring that knowledge over to Unity to do that kind of thing, because I can use C# in Unity, even though it's so ancient. C# knowledge. Anyway, but if you are okay with doing this, try a thing that seems somewhat interesting. And if you don't like that thing, don't do it. Try something else. Again, really depends on your personality. Are you someone that can do that? Because there are also times when you try a thing, you like it, but you just don't get it, and it frustrates you, so you just want to quit. So I don't want that to happen to you. I would hate for that to happen to you, because there are so many different fields that you can go into using .NET development, or just software development in general. It doesn't even have to be .NET. If you find that you don't like .NET as a technology, choose a JavaScript framework. If you hate JavaScript, which you said you do, then choose Rust, choose Go, choose something else that is interesting to you. No-code, low-code solutions are also a thing where you want to create a program, but you don't want to write code. So look into that. There are plenty of options for you, but essentially it's, if you don't know what you want, find the things you don't want, and then start narrowing it down until you maybe find something you do want, or you've just narrowed down that you just don't want to be in this field, which I hope never happens. So there are techniques for working around, I don't know what I want, but I do know what I don't want. Because typically you do know what you don't want. Okay, that's that. Techniques for finding out what you do want, though, aside from process of elimination, is there already something that you're doing that you enjoy that you think you can improve by writing code? If so, pursue whatever language or technology is needed to do that. Okay, more chat. Shark says, I'm really excited after seeing this. That means with the same skills, I can create both types of apps, web and desktop. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I've really only written this Blazor UI, and the only thing that I've done with the actual applications that run this UI is created a new project and then pointed them to this UI. So the little bit of setup for WPF project is knowing how to use a Blazor Web View control. You don't even have to know XAML. You just find the examples that say, here's how you put Blazor in a WPF app. Reference this NuGet package. Add this control to your wherever you're going to use it, and then set up your app services using this approach. And that's it. Same thing for a Maui application, although there are going to be some changes if we try to push this to Android, because I really don't know how to get it to be able to do API calls. But that's fine. iOS, I don't have any Mac or Apple devices that I could develop on, so I'm kind of just ignoring that. Same with Mac. I might play with Tizen, see if it'll run on my Samsung TV. That would be cool. And then this is pretty much the same as a WPF app, so I'm kind of ignoring it again. So I'm really only doing the Maui one for the Android project and maybe TV. Where else are we? Peter says to Narnu. Oh wait, I skipped over Liquid's comment. Liquid, no I didn't. We're way up here. I'm really excited after seeing this. Ziz X says, I feel you. It'll get better or something. Well, one thing is for sure is that it can only get worse or better. Or stay the same. Anyway, there was a shout out for Captain Commerce. Oh, right. So Peter then said to Narnu, do you hate all programming, or are you just frustrated with JavaScript or web development in general? Because you could just shy away from web development, even though that is what the majority of current tech companies are doing, or just most of the demand is in web development that I've seen so far. And I say that, and the app that I'm working on for my job is a desktop app, but you know, I just clicked on a thing. I'm trying to click so that I can see chat. Liquid said, my role will be in .NET. I asked my senior and they said we don't use Visual Basic. Yeah, typically Visual Basic isn't used very much anymore. The most you'll see it are VBA or legacy line of business applications, desktop applications written in VB6 or WinForms. But everything else is either some JavaScript framework or .NET, or a combination of .NET for the backend, JavaScript framework for the front end. But in a lot of cases, it's also JavaScript framework for the front end and Java Spring for the backend. So then Peter said, weirdly, I'm easily frustrated by certain types of problem solving, learning new frameworks, for example, but I'm pretty happy troubleshooting bugs and doing small fixes. Awesome. Shark then said, I'm glad you took time out to explain things. Yeah, not a problem. That's what this stream is for. Hanging out with you guys, spreading information. Ooh, Thindle. Thindle is another. I don't know if you already got a shout out from our best non-bot bot ever, but I'm doing another one. Thindle is another .NET developer who has been working on migrating legacy applications from old technology to new technology. Specifically .NET Framework to .NET Core. Going to Blazor as well for parts of the app. And then, but anyway, Thindle said, one time in Bandcamp, I came across one lion and it was great. He taught me everything I know. That's a lie. I have not taught you everything you know. You already have so much knowledge, so much experience under your belt, and you rub elbows with some of the most impressive people. Just because that seems important to you. So then Peter said to Narnu, so it might be helpful. It might be a hump you have to get over. Possibly. That's why I was asking about that. Okay, not sure where I was going with that. As usual. That's fine. It was a thing. So Shark is fine. My real name is Harun. Cool. I don't think I'm going to remember your real name, but I will remember Shark. Awesome. And Liquid greeted you. So then Narunu said, I love a new challenge, which is why I picked up programming. I love C# and the rules that I need to know and follow, ISTJ. I was thinking about going into game dev since I love gaming, but again, just undecided. Yeah, definitely try it out. See if you do like it. Use Unity if you want to do C#. I've also heard that there is another engine that you can use C#? As the scripting language for it? Don't know though. So Shark says now SharePoint 365 and Office 365 and Power Automate are all made in C# and ASP.NET Core, as I can see when I see debug messages or failed API message when using these cloud apps. Yeah. Daniel says Scott Hanselman is one of the three great Scots. When they speak, you learn, more or less, most of the time, somewhat, maybe, sometimes. I am in for Microsoft ecosystem. Yeah, I love it. I mean, I have gripes, but I'm not going to abandon it because of those gripes. There are still so many things that have worked really well for me and that I just love about it. Microsoft Virtual Academy used to have points and leaderboards too. It was fun. And then Ziz is asking, what made you commit to .NET anyway? So as I mentioned, I started off doing VBA. Actually, before that, before I got my first job that had me doing office automation type stuff, I was just pursuing it on my own. My freshman year of college, though, was the very first time I did actual programming. Before then, my dad had a Commodore 64. We had the manual, and you could write BASIC on it. And I just read through the pages and typed in whatever it said to type in, watched the little ball bounce across the screen. That's my story that I tell all the time. But then dropped it for the most part. Then I was just a gamer. Atari, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and on and on and on. I never got an Xbox though. Never had one. Or a GameCube. Although I had a friend who had a GameCube and we played on their GameCube. Or what was the other Nintendo one? The one that GoldenEye came on. Is that just GameCube? I think that might just be GameCube. Anyway, whatever that one was called. I really need chat somewhere else so that I can see the bottom of chat too. So anyway, I played games and then I wanted to be an inventor. So like at 10 years of age, I decided when I grow up, I want to be an inventor. And so I did stuff like take clocks apart and watches and stuff and try to figure out how they work, but I never put them back together. I was one of the people that was like supposed to be able to take things apart and put it back together. And that was how I was going to become an inventor, by figuring out how physical, real world things worked. And I quickly found out that I just suck at real world putting things together in general. So then I'm like, you know what? As I was going through school, getting closer to graduating, I'm like, I really want to pursue software development. I've gotten used to computers. I've gotten used to troubleshooting people's computer issues and being tech savvy and whatever else it's called. So this is back in the 90s, back when computers were just becoming a household thing. Yeah. Anyway, fixing other people's computers. And I'm like, I really like this technology arena. I want to play more in that. So I guess long story short, that's when I started playing around with VB6. I got a copy of VB6 from someone who heard that I was into technology. I was wanting to do programming. I'm 16 years old and they're like, hey, I just started this startup company and we'd be interested in teaching you how to do VB6. And that was a really awkward time. Yeah, it was a very awkward time. But anyway, he gave me a copy of VB6, which was something like $1,300 plus the full MSDN library on 6 CD collection or something like that. So I had access to these resources. I played with VB6, started creating some apps, and then freshman year of college is when I started my first time doing software development. Learned Java, C, C++, failed at it multiple times, had to repeat my freshman year multiple times, and finally got through it, put myself together, got a job working for civil service, like I said before, doing VBA, and lots of macros, lots of automation type stuff. Then 2009, I got the opportunity to work on the actual human resources system. I'm graduated by now. And I'm like, I really want to improve our human resources system. I want to get away from using Office, away from using Access and VBA, and work on the actual human resources portal, the place where we enter our request for personnel actions. I want to do that. So they sent me for 3 months to do a development position where they were using VB, ASP Classic, Web Pages, VB, and Oracle. So I picked that up, made my small improvements, went back to my regular job, kept doing VBA. I'm like, dang it, I really want to do more of that. So then they sent me back again 2 years later for a 3-month thing where I made improvements to a system. They were on VB.net by that time finally, but it was still Web Pages, but ASP.net. And then finished that, went back to work, and I'm like, I'm really unhappy because I'm still just doing VBA because I work in a human resources office, and they're like, you need to be doing human resources. It got to the point where I was just frustrated, annoyed, I didn't like the job. So I took on a side job that was to create a web page, a website for someone, web application essentially, and creating my own projects. That's when I started changing over from VB to C#. I'm like, you know what? I may as well bite the bullet. Learn C#. 2014 is when I started doing C# with .NET, MVC, and from then until now, that's what I've been using is ASP.NET Core, and hopefully advancing with the technologies, learning with the technology. So that's my story of how I got into .NET and stay with .NET. Everything that I did from essentially 2003 until now has been Microsoft oriented. Okay, so Live Coding says game dev as a hobby is okay. Game dev as a career will probably disappoint you, and it will definitely underpay. 2 game developers that I strongly recommend watching if you are interested in getting into game dev are Irish John Games, who works in Unity, C#, very talented, very cool. Check out Rise of Piracy on Steam, and Simple Game Dev. Simple Game Dev. Also working in Unity, working on a game called Artificial. Check it out on Steam. They are both highly talented C# Unity game developers that have this massive, like the way that I feel it is they have this massive train that they're just conducting and driving wherever they want to go. And it's like fully developed by them. Irish John Games now has a publisher, so he has a bit more resources, or a little bit more resources. I don't know if it's a lot. Yeah. That'll at least let you know whether you enjoy the process of it, or at least watching someone do it. But you can also see some things that go into it. You can ask questions on their channels because they have always been willing to answer questions. There's almost too many possibilities. Oh, I've heard that, which is why I'm open to all possibilities. There are just too many. Yeah, true. So you give someone a shelf that has 30 different flavors of jam, they have a harder time picking than if you give them 3 options. And yeah, they'll still complain about not having as many options, but it'll be easier in the long run. When they get more options, they're going to be like, no, too many. I don't like this. So same thing with development. Desktop development, what industry, or desktop versus web, what industry, what technology stack, etc., etc. Too many options, too many possibilities. Dukasoft said, nobody try out WordPress. Yes, thank you, nobody. So if you are interested in doing hard work, then try going into WordPress. No WordPress slander anywhere. Mojo says something Thomas Edison found 1,000 ways that didn't work. Yeah, just keep going. actually recommended WordPress to a customer today, probably because, yeah, it was appropriate for the thing that they were trying to do. Shark says, I like solving problems. This gives me a dopamine effect. Yeah, true. That's one of the big things that helps me stay self-motivated, is that dopamine hit from struggle, figure it out. Yes. I love that feeling. Mojo said to Dugasoft, is that your way of saying, I don't want your business? He's a WordPress dev. Of course he wants your business. Thindle said, I mean, WordPress is fine, I guess. The only thing I dislike with working with it is everything. Dugasoft said, nope, they wanted something simple with images and it had to be easy to edit. Then Thindle said, Umbraco. I've heard of it. It's actually not poop. Deflux is here. Hello, Deflux. I didn't realize that there were already artificial shoutouts from Stream Elements. Thank you, Stream Elements. And then Thindle said, it's a bit more advanced to set up if you start from blank, though. And then there's the Thindle shout out. Mojo said, stop, Umbraco, it kind of poop. Missing a few words, but yes. It would take me days to set up. And then Thindle said, coming sooner than expected, the Blazor part. And then Shark said, many companies will love to switch to .NET Core, but they don't do it because they have invested a lot in legacy applications. That's why they have to live with it. I had the opportunity to work for 2 places that had legacy code that needed to be updated. Unfortunately, the first one was another human resources office, and by upgrading their legacy code, their legacy applications, they meant put a new skin on top of it, but use the existing application. And it's not even like write UI or anything like that. It's see how you can use this system and get it to show data in Access by doing command line calls and automating the usage of that system and putting the data in our local Access. Oh, it was not good. But anyway, the one with the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, which is that way, which is the opposite way to you guys. Anyway, the Rocky Mountain Arsenal had these JSP applications that they said we need to have these in Microsoft so that we can, because they're still government and the government applications need to be able to run on Microsoft servers. They need to be able to host it in a more centralized location on a military installation. Ours, they had their stuff hosted locally on site. They had an actual server closet with all of the resources, but they just needed it Microsoft, and they hired me to do that. They had a team of 4 developers. When I got there, I was the only developer. And then we got a person that was doing help desk, didn't really have any software development experience, be in the junior developer role. So that was a lot of fun. But that meant that I got to choose what technologies to use and how to do everything. So I chose .NET, and well, it was .NET Framework, MVC, and using VSTS at the time, Visual Studio Team Services, which is now Azure DevOps, and for our source code using Team Foundation plugin. It was a bad idea. Oh. But anyway, everything since then has been migrated over to using their Git version control plugin, so that's fine. But yeah, then I did a lot of the modernization, the migration from JSP to .NET MVC, and then from .NET Framework MVC to Blazor, which was a lot of fun. And they're still looking for more help with that. And I'm like, yes, I want to continue with that. So anyway, there are companies that are willing to migrate. In fact, a few of our community members are working on projects for banks, for insurance companies, where they are introducing Blazor. So then Peter said to Shark, we upgraded a huge monolith. It can happen. Just take some guts. It sure does. Zendel says, if web-based, the cheapest option is setting up YARP proxy. Are we still talking? Did I miss a thing? Oh, for migrating their code? Yeah, so is setting up YARP proxy and automatic registration from a secondary ASP.NET framework site. Maybe not the easiest explanation, but it's enough for you to get Googling. Yeah, I don't know that there was a question that was asked, so I don't know what that's in reference to. I think I lost the plot. Another more long-term solution is to learn to love .NET Standard and start moving things over to a shared API surface. Absolutely. Peter said to Shark, our monolith has 140 CS projects, not a small project. So I told on Irish John's channel yesterday, I was struggling so hard with this build issue that we were having and just needed to switch between so many different branches, build them, and do some PRs at the same time and get my work done at the same time. It was really frustrating. But there were some changes that were committed that I approved because the PRs looked fine, the build looked fine, but there were runtime exceptions, which was really annoying because that means that the person that made the changes didn't actually run it on their system to make sure that it didn't have any runtime exceptions. Which is why I said what I said this morning at the start of the stream. Anyway, where was I going with that? So the thing that I shared that had to do with the comment, of number of projects, was at one point when I was trying to build our main shared packages solution that has like 48 projects in it, it said 48 projects of -60. Like, you know how this thing up here in the solution says how many projects there are of, yeah, I really don't even know what these numbers are because sometimes it's 18 of 17 projects. Sometimes it's a lower number of some number of projects. So I don't really know what that's used for, so I ignore it. Like, I assumed it was how many projects are built or how many projects are up to date or how many projects are actually restored and loaded. But -60, it's not possible. I'm going to try to finish catching up on chat. I think that's going to be the last thing that I do on stream. Other than, yeah, I think we're just doing chat today. I hope that's okay. I hope you don't mind the conversation. If web-based cheapest option, already read that. And Sharkuni said to Peter, or reacted to Peter with dang, so many follows today. Thank you so much. I missed Mandrew Dandy and No Mercy Mike just now. Thank you so much for the follows. Really appreciate you being here. I hope you're having a good day. Another one. Oh my goodness. Hello, Vinny Code. Thank you so much for the follow. 140 projects. Dukasoft said QBasic. Yes. Man, I really enjoyed QBasic. In middle school, I think that's what really drove me to want to do software development. In middle school, I took a very rudimentary, I don't even know what it was. I think it was supposed to be an introduction to software programming type stuff, but they used QBasic. And I found out how to play sound using QBasic and play notes. And at the time, I was also using a program called Noteworthy Composer because I loved writing music. I loved just making things. It was all MIDI and it didn't sound good, but it was still really fun to do. So I was really into that. So across 4 or 5 computers, I remember them being lined up against a wall, I had put in the code for playing a song, one of the songs that I wrote in Noteworthy Composer, and then I started them all at the same time, and then they played as a band together. It was really cool. It was really fun. I had to push the button on each of them, so I had a delay on all of them. Oh, it was so nice. It was cool. Okay, so Thindle says, I work tons with VBA. So if you didn't hear earlier, Sharkuni is going from VBA with SQL knowledge to want to learn how to do C# stuff. And was asking for some opinions on getting started with C#, having that base knowledge. Not even base knowledge, just the existing experience of using VBA and SQL. Set a proxy for ASP and not.asp. Yeah, still have no idea what it was in reference to. Thindle says, taking things apart to figure out how they work kind of resonates with me, but putting them back together was harder. Work sometimes. Yeah, I can do that with software. I can read through code and understand it. I can't do it with real world objects. Deflex says, aka being a top G. So that was during the time that I was telling that story. Dang, how far down is chat? Oh my goodness. You know that session I'm going to hold in October? Yes. I'm very seriously considering biting off way more than I can chew. Speaking of, not to step on your parade, and sending it to .NET Conf 2. You should do it. In case you hadn't seen in our Discord, Peter was wanting to get some feedback on, was it a talk or just an article that you want to do concerning containers? So if you are interested in having that conversation, he put it in the shared any channel, I believe. So then Shark says, as a VBA developer, you should look at Power Automate as well. It will help a lot in fully automating the workflow using both together and no human intervention needed, and it's easily meant for citizen developers. Cool. I don't prefer it. I only use it in order to maintain my existing Access database, but that's about it. Everything else I do is now Blazor. I won't even say it's like console or WPF. It really is Blazor. Yeah. If I write a console app, it's in support of my Blazor application. If I write a, what was the other one? Shared library, class library, it's in support of doing something with Blazor. And Mojo said he wanted to stop working with Office, and Microsoft said, say less. It's no longer Office. What? I don't get it. Teach me. Fix me. And then some shout outs about game dev stuff. VBA people can fit anywhere because a software engineer thinks himself overqualified for VBA, and that's why non-IT people end up doing this kind of stuff by learning to automate their work. Yeah, I just love automation, and that's why I will never be above doing stuff in VBA. It's just that I prefer working in this. But if I get a job that is just do automation using Visual Basic for Microsoft applications, I'll do it. Military must be hosted on Joshua. I don't know what that is. And Peter, he said, set up a reverse proxy to load balance between the old and new website, helping you test out the .NET framework to .NET Core. Thank you for clarifying that. So when you are doing your .NET migration from .NET framework or legacy stuff to .NET Core, just set up a load balancer, have one point to the .NET Core version and one point to the .NET to the existing legacy. Almost is what Thindle says. The Microsoft endorsed way is to set up a core application and then use a YARP proxy in there for everything that it can't handle itself, and send it back to the internal non-public ASP.NET framework hosted site. I guess I can kind of see that. So while you are migrating, while you are converting the code, then everything that you have migrated to .NET Core will be presented, but then everything that has not been migrated yet or can't be done in the .NET Core app will just get automatically served by the app itself going to the .NET Framework version and then spitting that out. Okay, I understood it. And then you can move one view over at a time. I dislike that solution. Then Peter said to live coding, to Thindle. Peter said to live coding. Yeah, that's right. So no Nginx reverse proxy. Just use the new website as the reverse proxy for the website. I get it. Me too. Community Day Chat Edition. So Community Day is still going to happen on Friday, even though I'm not really coding today on the project. We're still just going to call it a project day. But we still will have a Community Day on Friday. And No Mercy Mike waves. Hello. No Mercy Mike. I'm moving all my logic over to Net Standard DLL that doesn't have any references to .NET DLLs at all. Good. That's cool. If we had more stuff that wasn't OS dependent in my work product, I would do that as well with the majority of our libraries. But that's what Thindle said. And injecting an interface with a MyWeb Stuff framework implementation that goes into System Web. Are you making use of shared projects? I'm not going to lie. I really, really, really dislike shared projects. I would prefer for those to be .NET standard class libraries that compile, because it's really hard to debug and know where these objects are coming from. I'll replace that implementation with .NET Core when I make the move over. And then Deflex says, hey, I have a FinanMan question. I'm running into a funky issue with Entity Framework, and I notice you have a transaction entry service. Is that what you are using to ensure something gets written to a DB? What's its purpose? So a transaction in the financial management application is a payment, a deposit, or a transfer. And that's why I'm like, I really should not be using this terminology, because for financial systems, a transaction is when money is moved. The thing that I am doing to ensure that something gets written to the database is using a transaction. I will instantiate my, server side. Instantiate my DB context from the context factory, start a new transaction. Nope. Where's add? Okay. Here's my DB context. Start a new transaction on that DB context. Try the thing that I was going to do. If it fails at any point, roll back the transaction. I guess in this case, I'm just not committing the transaction. Oh, yeah. Because if you do a using inside of a block, when that thing gets disposed, so does the transaction. Essentially, it's like you aren't committing your transaction, therefore it never happened to your database. Since we're also disposing the context that it was used in, we're not going to have an invalid context the next time we try to use it. So, yeah. So essentially, it just gets rolled back. Nothing ever gets pushed to the database if it's not successful. If the entire unit of work is not successful from the point that I started the transaction to the point that I commit it. Ugh, makes sense? I hope so. Thandle said, right now I'm removing all direct references to Entity Framework and moving that into repos and EF Core instead of old EF5. Awesome. Napalm is here. Hello, Napalm. I have made it. I must have missed that. Would be happy to talk live coding. Yeah, cool. So it's in the shared any channel. They dropped the Office name. Oh, so it's just Microsoft 365 now. Right. I remember. Thank you. And Peter went on a call. Says AFK. Joshua is from War Games with Matthew Broderick. Been such a long time since I've seen that movie. Oh my gosh. Good times though. Good times. Me and references though. Thindle said, but then all of us, so then he was like, yes, this is the meaning of what I said, but then all of a sudden you have concurrency and token issues. Yeah. So how does the session carry from your .NET Core application to your .NET Framework one that's running in the background? And yeah, that sounds fun. Not fun. My shared library should be standard. As long as your shared libraries are written in such a way that they aren't using anything outside of .NET Standard, yes. If you need to start pulling in extra packages that are not .NET Standard, then that's when you need to make it one of the .NET cores. And typically, like, I don't know, I use latest .NET Core for all of them. Because I'm not making NuGet packages that are needing to be used in various projects. I am making shared libraries that are used for this specific project. So I'm okay with keeping it at latest.net. Just referencing the old .NET Framework library and the old project and changing that to a .core library once I've created the new project file. Oh, I can't see. Wait, that's secret. I can't see this. So I can see this. So I could push this and this. Okay, sorry. Interrupted myself for a quick second there. Shared feels icky. Net standard is better. I mean, it's still a shared library. It's just that you're targeting net standard. Oh, shared projects. Yeah, I hate shared projects. Just personally. If you use them and you use them in a good way, then please let me know what that good way is so that I can maybe understand why it's a good approach. But for me, it really seems like it is just an abstraction layer that could be provided to the projects that use it as a shared class library as opposed to a shared project. I hadn't even heard of shared projects until I tried to compile one in our repo. I'm like, why isn't this compiling? I'm not sure if you answered that thing about .NET Conf. I said, yes, do it. I may have missed it when my dad called. I strongly recommend doing it. Like, if it's good enough to talk about in an open forum or at any kind of conference, then it sounds like it's good enough information to be shared with a wider audience, which you can do via .NET Conf. So yes. I don't know if it's biting off more than you can chew, but it's definitely being ambitious. Because I don't know how much you can chew. You have a pretty big mouth. I'm kidding. I'm joking. Oh my gosh. Don't take offense. Should I take a huge bite and maybe not be able to swallow it and send a CFP response? Yep, so I just told you my answer. Napalm said, random question. Anyone have any ideas if it would be a wise decision to try and do light processing on a 25 megabyte file in an Azure function? I hate like hell to spin up a full console processing solution for something so small, but the time limit worries me a bit on the function. Netrunner says, do you want to play a game? Which game? I mean, I won't have time to currently, but maybe if you recommend the game on Friday, we'll have community day. And possibly. I can't join your Discord with that link. Really? Is the link broken now? Oh, right. I was getting to that. Let me just get all the way through the rest of these last two messages, and then I will respond to you, Napalm. And then, of course, if anyone else does have anything to respond with, again, most of our Azure gurus are either on the phone or just not here. So definitely the Discord is a good place unless you've already posted it to Discord. Yeah, it's taking me to the join the server. Anyway, let me know what the issue is with trying to join the Discord server. Maybe I can just create a new link. And then Deflex says, okay, so you're using this begin transaction async and this, and you're also using the entity state, so manually declare the state change. I don't really remember what the reason was that I had to set the state. I think it's because this is an upsert, and I really needed it to know when I was adding versus modifying a record. But typically, if you're using your normal tracking, then you shouldn't have to do anything special like set state yourself, unless it doesn't work. Okay, so couple responses came in. Can't see why processing a 25 megabyte file in Azure Function would be an issue. The one thing that comes to mind is how many requests are going to come in to process this file. Do you need to keep the service running between requests? So like if it's only one request every 20 to 25 minutes and the service spins down after 15 minutes or something, then it's going to have to spin up every single time that you make a new request, which adds that overhead once an hour. So most likely the case where it will spin down, but there could be multiple files. Yeah, it'll still probably spin down between requests. So it'll be a warm start between all of them. Ooh, and Peter is responding. So more words. Nice. I do trust the tracking. It's like I started with doing just the tracking, but because I am doing it using a generic and I am updating the values using an extension. Oh, wait, yeah, so await context.transaction query. This probably is getting it without tracking. So yeah, the way that I'm doing it here just requires me to set state manually. But in a typical situation, I would just let the automatic entity framework tracking handle whether my record is being updated or added. Yeah, and how long can a function run for before it times itself out? I don't know. I hope our Azure gurus help. Community Day Chat Edition. That got posted. I like it. The face you made is exactly the same one I made when I saw that. Like when I saw that it was like that. Oh, so one lion doesn't trust the tracking. I do. So Peter responded to Napalm saying, have to just try your thing out and see if it finishes in time. Honestly, what could go wrong? I was thinking I could, Napalm says, I was thinking I could copy the files over to blog and trigger the functions to run based on that trigger. I think it will scale based on the more files that come through. And then I hate wasted time coding something that might get tossed. I mean, if it's in its own library, then you're just pointing, like, I guess there's still some overhead of setting up the function, but it's really just using the library in that function versus using it in the other way that you were going to use it. It's a startup I'm working for, and let's just say they are a bit ridiculous with timelines. It doesn't just have to be because it's a startup. I work for a major OEM, and our timelines are insane. Deflex says, do you have an example of using cancellation token to cancel a request in your fine admin? Yes, everywhere that you see my lookup items. So if you go over to the repo and open up the main data entry page, cancellation token source. Account summaries. So in account summaries, when I get the account summary, if another request is made to refresh my account summary, so let's say that I quickly add 2 transactions, or I do something that is like add a transaction, click on an account, and I'm updating the account summaries multiple times, then I only really need to update it the most recent time to get the latest data. So I'll cancel the token, do another request to get the account summaries, and then yeah. It's pretty rudimentary. Again, because the only thing that I'm doing is if we are canceling the request and I have not requested a cancellation, it's getting canceled for some other reason. And so I want to see that in dev, but I don't think that this case will ever happen. All right, so I'm going to read through these last bits of chat, but I do need to get back to work. So we didn't do very much on the calculator, but I don't know. I had fun talking with you guys. So I'll read through the last bits of chat, but I need to go to the screen so that you guys know these are the last bits of chat that I'm going to read through. Okay. So to napalm should work. Says Stindl. And then Peter said to Napalm, if timelines are ridiculous, they can afford a Windows VM running your app in debug mode from Visual Studio. At that pace. Stindl says, it'll run once per file. So if you can finish one file before the timeout hits, then something. There's more to that, and I'm sure it works. It can get dirty, or I can get dirty, says Peter. Of course he can. In theory, if you wire it up all the way from ASP.NET, and also wire up something like sigterm command when running in containers, you can gracefully deploy new code, and literally nothing gets interrupted. Then Napalm said, LMAO, don't get me started. You need to write to Office and are too cheap to buy a library. No problem. Com interop with Office installed on the server. Those unaware, never install Office on a server, for the love of God. Deflex says, I miss your face. When are you streaming next, Peter? And Peter responded to the previous chain, you can't leave until you, or to me, until you completely catch up to chat. Burb, copying War and Peace text. So, how am I going to save my spreadsheets then? Good question. You use CSV, CSV helper, NuGet package. Write directly to CSV file. Anyway, thanks for the stream. Catch you later, says Ziz. And Life Coding says to Deflex, fiscal year 2025. All right. Okay, that's going to be it for me for today, though. Join us again on Friday when we have Community Day. Community Day is when I ask members of our community to hop into a Discord voice channel. This time I will remember to check my audio settings to make sure that the audio from Discord comes out to the stream. So I'll ask people to hop into our Discord to have a vocal conversation if you're comfortable doing so. You'll see it on Friday. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Have fun tomorrow. Feel free to join us on Discord. Shark says he did. And I will be posting the recording of this video to YouTube no sooner than 24 hours after I end the stream. Let us find a raid target. There are two people that I follow that are streaming currently. Settlix and Red Cabin Games, and they're both cool people. So Red Cabin is making this really cool shooter gather collector space game that's really cool looking. And Settlix, he's a really cool person. He has a lot of fun interactions. You know what? We're gonna go to Settlix. So if you feel like it, again, they are both game developers. So if you're not into watching game developers, then no need to join us. But the camaraderie there is fun. The atmosphere is lively. If you are also a HSP like myself, you may want to turn down your volume because it can get loud there from all the things that he has going on sometimes. But his channel is also marked as intended for mature audiences as well because he uses foul language, but it's not like, I don't know. So it's up to you whether that's offensive or not. If it is, then you don't have to join us. But anyway, I'll be around. I'll be getting back to work. Ciao for now. Enjoy the rest of your day. Juice, and fireflies and stuff.